Meet Otto Warmbier, a 21-year-old finance major from an Ohio suburb. In high school, he was athletic, popular, and crowned prom king. Halfway through his junior year of college, he decided to look for a winter break adventure. He booked a 5-day New Year's tour for $1,200. The destination was North Korea, organized by a travel agency that explicitly promised the trip to the isolated nation would be extremely safe. This is the view across the Taedong River. The city is a landscape of massive, brutalist monuments and wide, empty boulevards, a physical manifestation of the isolation and scale of the totalitarian capital. The tour group's itinerary was a surreal mix of regular vacation activities and strict state control. They engaged in friendly snowball fights with local children and slept at an island resort equipped with a bowling alley, a place tourists jokingly called the Alcatraz of fun. Interspersed with the bowling and drinking was mandatory state propaganda. Tourists were required to visit the massive bronze statues of the nation's first two dictators, Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, and respectfully observe locals paying homage. Disrespecting these revered figures carries severe, immediate consequences. While Otto viewed this as a quirky sightseeing trip, he was navigating a hyper-militarized state. The North Korean government actively conditions its citizens to view the United States as an imperial enemy. In 2015, the tour group gathered in Kim Il-sung Square to watch fireworks, then returned to their island hotel to drink and celebrate into the early morning hours. The group eventually split up to head to bed. But between 3 a.m. and 4:30 a.m., Otto's whereabouts within the massive hotel were entirely unaccounted for. When his roommate finally returned to their room, Otto was sound asleep. 2 days later, the group arrived at the airport, ready to fly home. As Otto and his roommate handed their documents to the guards, the officers took an unusually long time scanning the passports. Suddenly, Otto felt a tap on his shoulder. 2 North Korean soldiers were standing directly behind him. Without a word, they quietly led the American student away from the rest of the group. The danger was so difficult to comprehend that his roommate didn't even realize what was happening, calling out a casual joke. "Well, that's the last we'll ever see of you." Over the alleged crime of taking a propaganda poster from a staff-only hallway during that missing hour, Otto was instantly stripped of his legal rights. The dictatorship had completely swallowed him. 2 months later, the North Korean state released footage of Otto to the world. He was weeping, reading off a prepared statement, and begging for his life. The confession was filled with absurd details that pointed to clear coercion. He was forced to claim his crime was directed by a deaconess at a wealthy Methodist church in Ohio, encouraged by a secret society at the University of Virginia, and connived by the CIA to harm the work ethic of the Korean people. 2 weeks after that televised confession, Otto faced the North Korean Supreme Court. The sham trial lasted a single hour. His sentence was 15 years of hard labor. Following the sentence, Otto vanished. The U.S. does not have a formal embassy in Pyongyang, and back-channel diplomatic efforts stalled entirely. For 17 agonizing months, nobody in the U.S. government or his family knew where he was or how he was being treated. At a time when the regime was actively conducting illegal nuclear tests, Otto was viewed as a human shield, a geopolitical bargaining chip. In June 2017, a sudden diplomatic breakthrough finally secured Otto's release. But the young man being loaded onto the extraction plane was in a medically catastrophic state. When he landed back in Ohio, his parents were horrified. Otto had a shaved head, a feeding tube, he was completely blind, completely deaf, and suffering from a neurological condition known as unresponsive wakefulness. The North Korean government offered a highly dubious medical explanation. They claimed Otto contracted a severe case of botulism from a meal of pork and spinach, and then fell into a coma after having an unexpected reaction to a sleeping pill. Otto's family rejected this story, stating publicly that the regime intentionally tortured their son. Prominent American politicians immediately amplified this claim. To support the torture claim, the family pointed to an unexplained scar on Otto's right foot, which they suspected was from electric shocks, and stated that his bottom teeth looked as though they had been forcefully rearranged with pliers. 6 days after returning home, Otto Warmbier died. Immediately, his body became a battleground for 2 highly motivated, conflicting political narratives. It was left to American medical experts to untangle the facts from the propaganda. Independent medical examiners ran extensive tests on Otto, and their initial findings were definitive. There was absolutely no evidence of active or chronic botulism, cleanly debunking the official North Korean cover story. But the forensic team also found no physical evidence to support the American torture narrative. External examinations and dental x-rays revealed no signs of trauma to his lower jaw, no fractures to his skull, and no asymmetrical damage consistent with repetitive beatings. Definitive medical evidence came from MRI scans, showing massive loss of brain tissue simultaneously across all regions. The diagnosis: anoxic encephalopathy. This catastrophic tissue death is caused when oxygen flow to the brain is completely cut off, likely because Otto stopped breathing. North Korean medical records and earlier brain scans indicated this total oxygen deprivation occurred in April 2016, mere weeks or days after his sentencing. Without signs of blunt force trauma, medical experts were left with chilling theories about what stopped his breathing. It could have been an extreme allergic reaction to medication, cardiopulmonary arrest brought on by relentless 15-hour interrogation sessions, or a desperate suicide attempt by a young man facing 15 years in a labor camp. The hard forensic data thoroughly dismantled the official North Korean lie, while severely undermining the American political narrative of physical beatings. The exact catalyst that stopped Otto's heart remains a permanent mystery. Following his death, the U.S. administration aggressively weaponized the unverified torture narrative. By repeatedly using the word murdered, politicians built psychological leverage, explicitly threatening North Korea with fire and fury. Yet, the geopolitical strategy abruptly pivoted in 2018. The U.S. president pursued direct personal diplomacy with the North Korean leader, holding a high-profile summit. Once this new relationship became the administration's priority, the outrage over Otto Warmbier was abruptly minimized. When pressed about the student's death, the president stated he believed the dictator did not know about the case, praising his tough regime. The specific medical trigger that stopped Otto's breathing is permanently locked inside a secretive regime, but the environment that caused it is undeniable. The ultimate cause of Otto Warmbier's tragic death was never just medical, it was the totalitarian system itself. It is a grim reality of authoritarian states. A 21-year-old student can be stripped of his humanity over a ripped poster, destroyed in an interrogation room, and ultimately reduced to a disposable piece on a geopolitical chessboard.